to talk to us about the Appeal for Human Rights and how the students came together to form that document.
Yeah, I didn't quite finish. I did say that I became involved, I believe, in the fall of 1960, and I pointed out at that time the leaders whom I remember were Otis Moss, Marion Wright Edelman, and Lonnie King. There were other leaders, certainly Charles Black, but those people stand out. I've maintained a relationship, for example, with Marion Wright Edelman throughout my career, but I met her when she was a junior at Spelman, and I became involved with the movement. And I was also pointing out that in terms of memorable experiences, of course, I went to jail 5 times, I believe, and most of the time it was trying to buy food in a restaurant. There are two most memorable experiences, and we had talked about the time that I was sent to prison because we had been successful at filling the jails. The goal of that particular effort was to fill the jails in Atlanta. Dr. King was one of the first people arrested. I got arrested with A.D. King, Dr. King's younger brother, and 3 other people. So 5 of us were sent to the prison outside of Atlanta. And we were there when Robert Kennedy called on behalf of presidential candidate John Kennedy and asked the mayor to let Dr. King out of jail. So when that happened, we got out of jail too. And I told a story um, about Sprayberry, who was the one who was spraying us in the restaurant with fly spray, and who got arrested at the same time as we did. And but the interesting thing that I remember is that when we were let out of jail, A.D. King was the one who suggested that we ask the warden to let Sprayberry out of jail. And I didn't completely understand the significance of that at the time, but A.D.'s point was that nonviolence is not just about not hitting back; it's about not hating. And so we had the right spirit once we understood A.D. King's point. The last time I was arrested, I was in fact head of the student movement my senior year. I was president of the student government at Morehouse, and I was head of the student movement, the Student Committee on Appeal for Human Rights, a part of SNCC. And your dad, of course, at that time was providing the leadership for SNCC he even dropped out of school. So he graduated 2 years after I did because he sort of gave full time to this effort. But at any rate, in my senior year, we were arrested at a restaurant at a time when the business community was beginning to get really concerned about the student movement and all the problems we were causing for them. And it was when I got arrested, I was arrested with a young lady from Spelman, Annie Jo Weaver, who was an exchange student. And we decided, it was actually her idea, that we were going to hunger strike. So we ended up staying in jail for a whole week without eating. And I can't tell you what that was like. But it did get a lot of publicity. And I think it added to the momentum to really desegregate the businesses in Atlanta.
Okay, wonderful. And did you want to talk a little bit more about the Appeal for Human Rights?
Wait, one more, Trey. I just want to jump in. Dr. Satcher, I know you mentioned my dad.
Yes.
But